Welcome to the Chapelcast. This is a bi-weekly podcast about the people and the life of the chapel. Subscribe to us from anywhere you listen to your podcasts and follow us on Instagram at the Chapelcast or go to our website, thechapel.org.
All right. Hello, Chapel family. Welcome to another episode of the Chapelcast. Today, we're with Vanessa Reitsma.
Hi.
Yes. Well, thanks for being here. And so, Vanessa, good to meet you. Good to get to know you a little bit more. Just let's start off by telling me a little bit about how you first came to the chapel. What first attracted you to the church?
So my husband and I moved here from Maryland 7 years ago, and we're church hopping for a few years, trying to find the right place. And we just didn't feel at home many places. We visited the chapel, and then we had 2 kids, and life got crazy, and we couldn't make it work, unfortunately. So when life settled down, we came back and it was an answer to prayer. The kids program is amazing. Our kids, who were very shy at the time, felt so welcomed and so loved. And that alone was enough for us to stay. And
That's great.
Then we met Dave and the worship team, and it was just like God said, here you go. It's been waiting for you, but you're ready for it now. So yeah, we love it.
So 2 kids.
2 kids.
What are the ages?
6 and 7.
Okay. And which is which?
The 7-year-old is my daughter, Penny, and Noah is 6.
Fantastic. So I'm always curious because it's so hard for me to make a first impression of the chapel or get a first impression of the chapel because I've been here forever, it feels like. I'm always curious, what's the first impression that you had? And what first went through your mind when you said, "Oh, this could be our church home for us"?
So I think having the greeters outside is a huge plus. You immediately have to talk to someone. You know, it's a big church, but you can't fade into the crowd, and that was good. You need to make a connection, and that's how you're going to get involved and how you're going to get close. So we loved the greeters there. The atmosphere, just the whole setup is very conducive to an open and welcoming environment.
That's good. Thanks.
Yeah, we just loved it.
Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, I'd actually like to have greeters in the parking lot.
Yeah,
that's something we're working on.
That's a great idea,
right?
because sometimes the parking lot's kind of confusing.
Well, they say that's where it starts. That's where the experience starts. If somebody has a bad time in the parking lot, they may not come
Somebody's honking at them and yelling.
So
forget it.
I'd love to try to get greeters out there.
Yeah.
But that's great. That's great to hear. So then Chapel Kids, your kids got plugged into Chapel Kids. What was that like at first?
It was very exciting for me. I'm part of a big family, but our church was always very small. So seeing my kids get to make friends right away and see how much the staff loved the kids and took the time to pay attention to all of them, it just melted my heart. And to see my kids thriving in that environment, that's great. I just wanted them to be as involved as possible.
That's great. No, that's good to hear.
And your kids are really quiet, though.
They are.
Like Penny kind of attached herself to Chloe, like whenever she volunteered for CKC, and she was always really quiet. But when she'd get around Chloe, she got a little more animated. So it's kind of nice to see them in an environment where they can connect with other kids.
Yes, it's been great. They are pretty shy, and
you're quiet,
but they do. They connect with certain people, and then they open up, and it's awesome. So.
That's
I'll
good.
Take every step.
That's good to hear, right? I'm glad to hear about that connection. And volunteers like Chloe, we have a lot of high school volunteers.
Yeah.
People don't realize, I think, unless they're parents like yourself, there's close to 300 kids every week in Chapel Kids. And probably 60, 70 volunteers. Wow. It's a big deal. That alone is bigger than most churches in America.
Exactly.
Which people don't appreciate. And so, kudos to the whole Chapel Kids team, because pulling that off week after week really makes a difference for families like yourselves and a lot of visitors.
Yeah, they're amazing. And the continuity too. They have the same teachers every week, which makes them comfortable, and they can open up more. Right. And that was huge too.
How did so you've been attending for a while, and then you wanted to get involved. How did that come about? How did you find a way to get more involved? Because that's the second question I usually get from people. What's the church like? And now that I'm here, what do I do next? How do I get plugged in? So how did you solve that?
So I'm very outgoing. It was easy for me to want to get involved. My husband is a little bit more reserved, so he takes his time getting comfortable, which I appreciate because I jump into every situation as often as I can. So I feel like God gives you gifts for a reason, and you should share them whenever possible. So
Amen.
I actually got in contact with Brady and Val, and I've been shooting some events that is going on.
Wait,
and
clarify that.
yes,
please.
I'm sorry.
Don't be
Wait a
alarmed.
minute. What events are we
I'm a
talking?
photographer.
It's kind of an important distinction.
I took photographs of
you.
things going on.
Excellent.
I always forget about that.
It's not that kind of podcast.
No. That's frowned upon. So, and then I've been in contact lately with Jasmine in the kids program, and we'll be helping out with Kid City. So
Oh, that's good.
it's
Oh,
nice.
that's fantastic.
I like it.
We usually contact Vanessa when we need someone to take photos at like CKC or you were there for Trunk or Treat just
Right.
recently. So
That's
that's
great.
She takes really good photos.
So talk about that. Photography. How did you first get involved with that?
So ever since I was a young kid, I've been so into photography. My parents got me this little purple Mickey Mouse camera when I was
Cute.
probably 10, and I took pictures of everything. And it started out with nature. I just find God's beauty in nature anywhere I go. We're very outdoorsy, so we feel a really close connection to God when we're outside and hiking and camping and in the mountains. And it's just, that's where I feel him closest. So if I feel I can take a picture of that and share that with someone else, then I feel like I'm, helping other people see what an amazing creator we have.
That's fantastic.
Um,
That's great. And so that's what you do. You're a photographer.
I am.
It's not just a hobby. I mean, this is like what you do.
It started as a hobby and it became a profession. So
That's wonderful.
yeah.
That's wonderful. I've always thought I'm not a very good photographer, as my wife and kids will tell you. But I've always thought whether it's photography or art or what you do, Val, with the videos, it starts with being able to see things differently. I think that's just a gift that most artists have. They just see things differently than most other people. Do you find that you can visualize it as even before you're taking the picture?
I do. And I think Val can attest to having the eye for things that maybe some people don't always see, or you see things differently, like you've said. And I do. I tend to see life in a different way anyway. So I think that does help.
That's
You perceive things differently than others, or you find the beauty in situations where it might not be there to other people.
That's a great gift.
And you can really use that in photography as well.
So that's wonderful. Is there a specific area of photography that you do?
So right now I do a lot of families and weddings.
Nice.
I love nature photography, but that's pretty much just for myself. So
So I get this question a lot. What camera do I need? What lens do I need? So what's your answer to that? You can be technical gear, or you can be different and with your answer. I just want to know what you tell people when they ask you.
yeah, so this is dating myself a bit. I studied photography in college, so
Okay.
that's my degrees in. But back then it was film. So we
Right.
had analog, we had the darkroom, we had to process our own film, and it was messy and you didn't always get the shot, and I loved it.
Right.
So then I used a Nikon with this huge camera, this huge lens that I could zoom, and now I use Canon, and I love it. And
Me too.
yeah, it's you're just comfortable with what you know, and
Right.
yeah, it hasn't let me down yet.
That's good. I always tell people, I don't think it matters what camera you have. It matters what you see. Because, I mean, we were just talking about angles and stuff and the things that you see. And so I've seen people on Instagram take amazing photos with just their iPhone.
Oh my gosh, I know. It makes
Or
me
a flip phone. Like, I don't know. I don't know what they're using. But it's the way they, like we were talking about artists and the way you see things. Like, you can look at something I can see something one way and you'll see it a whole different way, and Ted will see it probably a way different way. No, I'm just kidding. But
I mean, not see it at all. Like, what?
So that's my answer to everyone. It doesn't matter what camera you have. It's just what you do with it.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to steal that.
You steal it. You take it. Tell everyone.
Good. We were at the beach, a family vacation this summer, and it was beautiful sunset. And Barb really wanted a picture. All four of us were together, which is getting more and more rare as the girls get older. And some guy was walking by, and we just said, "Can you take a picture?" And it was just with one of our phones.
Right.
It's got to be one of my favorite pictures of all time.
yeah.
I don't know how he did it or what he captured, but it's just amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Like
yeah.
I said, it just matters what you do with it. So, I mean, sometimes quality counts, but you know.
That's great.
Even the rough ones can be moving at times. So
Yeah, you can just call it artsy and get away with it.
abstract.
I was being artsy. I meant for it to turn out blurry.
So I'm curious, being a non-photographer guy, what was the shift from film to digital like? Was that hard or was it pretty easy?
Well, I feel like when I was graduating, they made me take one digital class, which pretty much didn't help much at all because I was still shooting with a film camera.
Right.
And so I kind of had to teach myself the transition to digital, which a lot of people are doing, and there's lots of resources. Makes it a whole lot easier when you're shooting a wedding or something like that, where you just have to rapid fire and you have more options instead of waiting until the film develops to see what you got.
That's good.
Yeah, digital's good.
It is.
I don't miss the film days when you would have like those pocket cameras, the disposable ones, and you would like, try to take pictures of everything. You get them developed and like 3 came out.
Yeah.
Like out of the whole row.
Exactly.
And you're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have that now.
I don't get back. Yeah.
Right. What was the last day of school? Those memories I'll never get back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Plus, you can just shoot a lot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that increases your chances
Yeah.
again.
Right.
How does your faith impact photography? How you approach that?
God has blessed me and everyone with so many chances and opportunities in life. And photography is a way for me to capture those moments, but it's also a way for me to connect to others and be a witness to others. I've had many interesting conversations with the clients that I've worked with that have just out of thin air evolved to talking about God and talking about the chapel. And, before weddings that I shoot, and often before family sessions, I pray over the family, I pray over the wedding, just that God would bless our time together and lead it how he wants to.
That's great.
So you're taking a big leap, kind of putting it out there, and, some people are receptive, some people aren't, but that's what we're called to do regardless of how they see it. So.
That's really good. That's really good. Yeah, Pastor Dave will say often to me that part of what he likes about being a pastor is a lot of things, but he's interacting with people at really important parts of their lives.
Right.
Yeah.
And what you described is similar. You're at a wedding or maybe a child's birthday or something, and they're thinking big thoughts at those times. So it's a great opportunity to have those kind of pre-faith conversations.
So you homeschool the kids, right?
I do. Yeah.
From me being a mom, I don't, first of all, I don't know. First, I don't think I'm smart enough to homeschool my kids. Second of all, that's a lot of work. So what made you decide to homeschool your kids instead of sending them to public school?
So I am a homeschooled child. I'm one of 6. All of us were homeschooled.
Wow.
My mom had a lot of patience.
Wow, good for your mom.
So I grew up with that. My husband went to a private school, and I wasn't going to push it on him when we had kids. It's not for everyone.
Right.
So I was trying to be open, and he actually had some few experiences while he was working in schools that he said, why don't we try it? Why don't we give it a chance and see how the kids do with it? One of the big reasons is our faith. We want to be able to give them a strong foundation and encourage them and answer questions that they have and, be there for them. Not that they don't get that in schools, but we like to have the opportunity to have that kind of conversation with them. It's definitely hard at times, but I feel like that's another blessing from God that I'm able to do photography from home, so I can homeschool them as well. But yeah, it's working and they like it so far.
Do you plan on homeschooling them all the way through high school ages, or?
Right now we're taking it day by day. That's on the radar as long as it's working for everyone.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
That's great. That's good. So do you follow a certain curriculum or something? Because I know there's so many different, especially today with the internet and everything. Is there one particular thing that you follow?
So there's lots of options. Thankfully, there's lots of Christian options too. We pick and choose what we like. Each child learns differently, we've found. So they require much different curriculum. So it's nice to have the option to pick and choose. Some they do together, but some they do separately. So
that's good. What would you say is the biggest plus of homeschooling versus public or private school?
That's hard because I've never been to public or private school. Okay. I went to college, but I would say that the biggest plus is seeing them reach those milestones for the first time, being able to read and seeing that click. Like for me, I get emotional seeing those little steps, because they still are getting those at school, but you're not getting to see every moment or you're not seeing how proud they get when they've done something cool or special. That's
nice.
That's probably my favorite part of it.
That's very cool. That's great. And so now, so our daughters are in private school, Christian school. I went to Christian school. So now, with your perspective as both someone who went through homeschooling and then now currently homeschooling, are there things that you, I want to ask this, politely.
Oh, please, no. I've heard it all.
I can imagine. So are there things that you wish could be done differently, or do you ever feel like, oh, they may be missing out on this, or I wish we could plug this in? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been many things that we've thought of, and myself as when I was a kid, that I felt I was missing out on certain things. Looking back now, I'm glad that I missed out on certain things.
Sure.
And for my kids, I'm glad that they're not having to go through some things that other kids are. But on the flip side, it makes you stronger to have to go through some of those things that kids are going through in schools. And they still go through it. They have plenty of friends here at the chapel and sports and everything else that they're involved in. But yeah, I would say that's the one thing is the resilience. You need that. And you're going to learn in life later on that how you could cope with things as a child is going to affect how you do when you're an adult. So
That's great.
Yeah.
I don't do bucket list. I just say I want to do everything. So I don't make a list. So I just want to do it all. But if there's one place on your bucket list, if you have one that you would like to photograph, where or what would that be?
So honestly, this came really quickly. It's just a place that I've always wanted to go to. And it's Alaska. I've never been. My husband has been, but I'm not a cold weather person, but it just looks amazing. And, a place that's so untouched by civilization. And it's just seeing God in his raw natural beauty that he gave us. I would recommend that you go if you ever get the opportunity. My brother was stationed there. And so has it been like 2 years now? 2 years since I got to go. And so we flew into Anchorage and he took me everywhere. We went fishing. I caught a salmon.
Wow.
This big. I was the only one on the trip to catch a salmon. Thank you very much. With my bright red fingernails. I've got the picture to prove it. But it's beautiful. I had my camera. My brother likes to take photos just as like a hobby. And so we would go out and take pictures together and he would tease me of stealing his shots, but I wasn't doing that. But it's beautiful. I recommend you absolutely go. I would go in August or October. I wouldn't go later than October because it starts to get really cold.
Yeah, and dark. You need daylight.
And you need light to take good photos. Right. No, that's a good place.
Yeah.
You would love it.
I'm really going now.
Yeah, you would love it. We got a little cabin in the middle of like nowhere.
That's exactly.
And it was beautiful. And we would hike and it was perfect for you. You need to go.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's on your.
There you go.
Oh, and and I wanted to see the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights.
That's on my list.
And my brother kept saying, "Oh, you can see them. You can see them. I promise." And I got on the plane. I finally land back home because it's a long flight. And he texts me and he goes, "Look," and he sent me a picture.
Stop.
Literally the day I left, you could see them right outside of Anchorage. I was so mad.
Oh my gosh.
You have to go back.
Yeah, but he's not
go.
there anymore. Okay. He's in Maryland now. So
we'll just fly out there. It's okay.
that's right. You and I, let's go take a trip. We can do this. We can do this.
Fantastic.
That's a good place. That's a good place.
Well, Vanessa, this has been great. Thank you so much. Thanks for being a part of this. And I'd love to have you back in the future.
Oh, I'd love to be back. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again for joining us. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. This podcast is also available on video. Just head over to YouTube and search for the Chapelcast.